Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and some of your favorite YouTubers, my friends, are getting completely scammed. Your favorite streamers and YouTubers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've talked a lot about, goofy stuff on the internet, and I come across as a real goofy moron, and that's because that's who I really am. But over the years, I've developed a bit of my business acumen through working on YouTube and various businesses in my life. And if it comes down to it, I want to talk about something that I feel like I can provide a level of insight to you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might have heard of the name Thieves, for instance, one of the largest esports groups. I can't say they're the largest. I think the largest might be FaZe at this point, but they are pretty sizable. They got some pretty awesome creators on their roster, and they've unfortunately come into a little bit of a kerfuffle, if you will, on the internet regarding payments to certain creators. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, one thing I want to start off by saying is when it comes to scams and predatory practices, I always like to speak out against it, but there are two sides to every single story. One thing I want to get off by saying is when I first start talking about your favorite YouTubers and people being scammed, I look at things like, fake sponsorships or malware that's being spread through emails. Like a lot of your favorite YouTubers, especially, YouTubers that make more adult content, more mature content where they're more demonetized. So they rely on that, they rely on that sponsorship money to keep going, to pay editors, to pay people on their payroll. And for them, getting these sponsorships is oftentimes a challenge in of itself. Like when you go onto the internet and when you give out your business email, I would say 9 times out of 10, there's always a predatory company in your emails. Whether it be a company that's literally trying to send you a piece of software disguised as malware to steal your YouTube channel, which is something I've seen time and time again through the last few years, or it's another company that serves as a middleman. Like for instance, for mobile gaming, and there's a bunch of mobile games out there, so I'll give you a quick sort of understanding. Let's say that content creator A and video game maker B exist, right? Now, this could be any mobile video game. They want to sponsor a YouTuber. Now, what'll happen is the YouTuber receives an email, but it's not from the actual game maker. It's from a median company. So this is like sort of a PR company, like sort of an advertising agency, if you will. They'll come up to your favorite YouTuber and say, hey, you get how many views, right, on your videos? And you'll say, I get about 100,000 views, right? You'll give them your entire channel metric. And they'll say, oh, 100,000 views? Yeah, we'll give you $500. $500. Now, $500 is a lot of money, no matter who you are, I think. It's a good chunk of change. But $500 for 100,000 views? Brother, you are getting goat seed, okay? That's how it works, all right? If you're getting that consistently and they're only paying you $500, you're getting fisted, my friend, okay? You might as well be on OnlyFans rather than YouTube with how hard you're getting fisted. But the entire thing is, what'll happen is the advertising agency will go to the game manufacturer, the game producer, and say, hey, can I have a deal of, say, $8,000? So they're going to pay you $500, and they're going to pocket $7,500 themselves. So what happened is you got screwed. They took your hard work and basically profiteered completely off it. Like, that's clean money to them. It's not hard for them to get that deal sourced. They do it all the time. But for them, they just made clean money off of all of your hard work. I know for a lot of people looking into this, and when it comes to money and influencers, some people are like, hey, you guys have great jobs and you're blessed. But the reality is all of us fall off. The reality is we're all going to fall off. All our channels are going to die at some point, okay? It's going to happen. We're not going to be as good as we were at a peak at some point. There's going to be ups and downs, but eventually everyone falls off. So for a lot of influencers in the camp, it's about making hay while the sun is there, right? That's pretty much what it is. Now, when it comes to this 100 Thieves story, it's a little bit out there. For instance, looking into it, one of the actual creators, known as Frosty, who was apparently part of a group called The Mob, which was sort of a group that hyped up 100 Thieves, and eventually they had actually gotten involved in doing business with them. Now, it first started off with, damn, I miss the Mob House. Imagine we had enough money to where we didn't have to stress over where our next meal was coming from. Could have done some big things, but I guess we'll never know. And people wondered, hey, damn, you had an entire organization behind you, an organization worth millions of dollars. So, of course, this got me wondering a little bit, damn, were they underpaying you? What was going on? So one person asks, I get that, but why not propose ideas to 100 Thieves and ask to help funding, right? Focusing on streaming consistently. When Mr. Beast started, he was doing shit like counting to 1,000,000. Of course, Frosty here says, LMFAO, you have no idea how much we asked. It got to a point where it was almost pathetic. But go ahead, man. Blame the 20-year-old kids that had no idea where they were doing instead of the $100 million predatory organization, LOL. Now, I'm going to start off by saying I don't give a fuck if you're 20 20. At the end of the day, once you're 18, you become an adult. It's time for you to start learning how the real world works. When you sign deals with mega corporations and big brands like this, it is absolutely up to you to completely have all your bases covered. And I know that sounds harsh, but I've made the same mistake before YouTube. I made the same mistake myself. Whenever you get a contract, whether it be for anything, whether you're buying whether you're doing something as minuscule as possible, if you can, always get a lawyer. Because here's the thing, a lot of the ways these contracts are written up are super confusing, especially for somebody that is in their 20s, when you don't have a whole lot of life experience. However, when you hire a lawyer whose literal job it is to read through this shit all the time, those are the people that can absolutely tell you what the terms really are and just exactly where you stand on a deal. Trust me, most deals, 99% of them, are not built in favor of you. They're very much in favor of a team behind you, okay? Because at the end of the day, when they're signing you on, they want to make sure they can squeeze you for as much money as you can before you eventually fall off and they can throw you away, spit you up, chew you out, and start fresh with new blood coming in. It sounds really scary and it sounds like super, disgusting when I put it that way, but that's just the world of business in general. Not all companies are like that. But again, finding the good ones is like finding a needle in a haystack. So then they started detailing how much they were paid. So for instance, they were paid $1,650, apparently, $2,500 each in rent a month, while only getting paid $1,650. There were so many days where we had to skip meals because we couldn't afford to buy food unless we begged our parents to send us money. Jesus Christ. We had to turn down a $20,000 a month deal from G Fuel because they had a deal with a competing sponsor. And then that sponsorship happened. Okay, Jesus Christ. Now, of course, when Frosty came out to detail, hey, there's a lot of high rent in Los Angeles. They apparently had to live near the base of operations in LA, but they were only making $60,000 a year. Now, I'll agree with Frosty that $60,000 a year in Los Angeles, when you're living in the places these people were, is not a whole lot of money. Which I've never really understood, given the fact that your job is primarily on the internet anyways through streaming. Why would you not be allowed to live outside Los Angeles where property values are so massively high and inflated? Well, not really inflated. I mean, Los Angeles is expensive because there's a lot of work that happens in Los Angeles. You are closer to the action. But for these guys, they could have lived in bumfuck Nebraska for all we care, and that $60,000 would have went a lot more than what they were paying for in Los Angeles. Now, of course, it even came out to a situation where Frosty explains that, hey, me being young and dumb put all the blame on myself. Thinking about it now, I see how they took complete advantage of us, and these tweets aren't even half of it. Remember when Tfue complained about FaZe taking 80%? Try 95%, which is Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is why you always want to get a lawyer, okay? Now, there's no doubt that agencies, like esports agencies, have a pretty high sponsorship rate. Like, some of them will take like 70, 80% of your sponsorships. I remember way back in the days of YouTube multi-channel networks, when my channel was underneath like larger MCNs, we had to argue to get better rates. The average rate I remember back in the day was them literally doing a 60-40 split. So imagine you do all your hard work on YouTube. MCNs did fuck and all. So you would give 100% of your earning to the MCN. They would give you 60% of your money back, and they would keep 40%, almost half, for doing literally nothing. And again, unless you had a lawyer and you were capable of arguing with them, you could get the 90-10 split, or in some cases, the 100-0 split from these MCNs. But this was not common. So in Frosty's case, when it came to his sponsorship money, this is incredibly predatory if true. Now, of course, Nadeshot, one of the leaders and creators of 100 Thieves, came in and basically explained this entire situation.
Don't want to bring the other individuals that are a part of the mob into this, but the proof is in the pudding, guys. I had thought that we were giving them a big opportunity, okay? From individuals that were averaging just a couple hundred viewers, if not lower some days, having them be a part of a tier 1 organization like 100 Thieves. I thought, on top of the fact that we brought them out to LA and we moved 4 best friends into a home together, I thought that this could only be productive. This could only be, the perfect situation and scenario for all of these guys. They didn't work. They didn't make videos. They didn't stream. They got here, and we'll never know why it is that it panned out the way that it did. But if you really want to go look at stats and you really want to look at the work that was done while we're bringing these deals in, while we're paying these salaries, and while we're supporting them as much as we can with the employees that we have, the resources that we've created for ourselves, and the platform that we have built along with our community, that mentality that we had back in the day where you eat what you kill.
So basically what he's saying is these guys didn't really have the viewership to warrant the amount of money that they were even getting paid in the first place. Which, ladies and gentlemen, it's a sad reality. Okay, so they moved them out to Los Angeles. They knew these guys weren't building enough cash or money and flowing it into the company. And they were basically running on like breaking even or at some point losing money, as Frosty would claim. Which, in my opinion, you got to understand as an org owner, you understand that you're moving your friends out, you're moving these guys out to Los Angeles, a nice place that apparently costs $10,000 a month, and they're not making enough money to even cover the rent on the place. You're getting them the deals, and that's cool and all, but it was already a situation that was kind of doomed to start off with,
A fair agreement. And I don't want things to be, my words to be taken out of context, but the mob, if you look back, and even now, if you look at their channels, they were only averaging, 100, 200, a couple hundred viewers. Maybe there's some exceptions into the rule there. Maybe there's a couple thousand, for big moments. I don't know. But the fact of the matter, without trying to sound as if I'm holding this against them, they weren't very big. They might have had a very rabid, Twitter fan base that really loved everything that they did. But in all actuality, when it's time to make money, in the places that you can make money, on Twitch and YouTube and sponsorships, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for them.
Which I guess is true. Obviously, in Twitter, you're not really making any money. That's why I'm not really using it. It's not really, Twitter is a great place to shitpost, but it's when it comes time to making hay, these are not the platforms you're going to make hay. So if you make 10,000 likes on Twitter, that's not $10,000 in your pocket. When you're not making money on these tier 1 organizations, when you're not making money through the actual streams, it's going to piss off your organization holder, obviously. But again, like I said earlier, if you knew these guys weren't capable of expanding or building on, or they weren't bringing the numbers in the first place, why even bring it on to begin with? This is already a sinking ship. Now, of course, this is where he talks about taking 85% instead of 95% of the sponsorship deal. So listen to this.
I have an email that the key terms of these deals that we bring to the mob, we would retain 85% of revenue. We did 3 deals for them. And two out of the 3 deals, they took home 65% of the revenue from that deal. Okay, 65% of the revenue from that deal.
So in one case, they gave him 65%, which is pretty decent. It's pretty industry standard. I guess in one of them was they took the entire thing is this percentages were not 95%, which was abnormally high when I first read about this. Now, again, this is a tier 1 organization. They brought that to you. They're going to be taking their finder's fee. And of course, understanding this is a part of business. If you're not bringing on a lawyer to contest this before things are signed, that is ultimately on you. And I know it's harsh when I put it that way, but the most important thing I could say for anybody who's in the space, if you sign on with an organization like this, or you sign on with anybody, it's up to you to really put in your due diligence and make sure you're not getting raw dogged. Now, of course, that was corroborated by 2 individuals who basically said that Nadeshot's account was correct. And of course, a bunch of information comes out regarding it from every side. Now, the point is, again, when it comes to the idea of your favorite YouTubers being scammed, this is a real part of the industry, okay? If you want to be in the space and you want to make a lot of money, especially in esports or just in YouTube in general, then when it comes to these sponsorships and when it comes to signing on with these organizations, a lot of people get sparkly eyes, all right? They start to really look at these things as they stairway to multiple millions of dollars. And the grim reality is when you're on the space, you're the only person capable of navigating it for yourself. I think my best advice and my best insight for all of this is always make sure that you can get a lawyer to look through a lot of these things. And when it comes to signing on with any sponsorship, understanding the terms and where you stand is the most important part of it. And honestly, the best is never to over leverage yourself. I'll say this much, all right? I don't know who's in the right or wrong in this situation. Obviously, signing on with a company like this, and even Nadeshot's explanations of how they were taking cuts out of, doesn't come across as good to me. All right, it's not something that I can even co-sign, even though that the information that Nadeshot has provided is the industry practice. Really, what I've learned is more so my theory on the the state of the industry. Realistically, what I've learned about this through Nadeshot's words and the various information that's come out is our industry can be incredibly predatory. And it's something you'll see in the entertainment industry in general. Anybody that's naive in this field or somebody that's not looking out for themselves will get chewed up and spit out. And realistically, if you're in this field and you want to make a lot of money and you want to make a lot of fame out of it, then it's up to you to navigate in the most intelligent way possible. I think it's a little wild and out there for somebody who's in their 20s to claim that, hey, I was just completely taken advantage of and I had no idea what was going on. At some point, it's a good learning lesson to grow the fuck up and realize that in this world, you're the only one that can watch out for yourself. And whether it be in anything, business, in personal relationships, you have to make sure you have all your T's crossed and your I's dotted. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is 100 Thieves completely guilty of screwing over these kind of guys? Again, unless I have hard contracts in my hands, I really don't know. But the way that Frosty describes it, I do genuinely feel bad for him and for anybody else who has these kind of agreements signed on with any esports organization like this. Whether it be 100 Thieves, whether it be something like FaZe, whether it be Optic, whether it be I don't know, I think it's Mythic or there's a bunch of teams out there, and there's plenty of them out there, and they're always looking for new blood to bring in. And when you're in the world of esports, it's like being an athlete, okay? You have a limited amount of time to do anything before you have to retire and think of investing your money into much more long-term affairs. But for these guys, they moved out to Los Angeles. The the dream of Hollywood was not as beautiful as they thought, and it sort of all ended from there. Now, do I feel bad? Absolutely. But I think all of this can be taken as a learning lesson for anybody jumping into this industry now to completely watch out for yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I am out.